perhaps
Observe
one
the
of the
western
most
frontier,
disturbing
where trench
secrets
warfare defined
concerns
the conflict,
intelligence
and on the
operations
eastern front
carried
the
out
movement
across
was more fluid.
occupied Europe. Resistance groups, spies, and double agents operated in constant danger, but many of their missions were manipulated by intelligence agencies. Some resistance movements were deliberately misled or used as bait to confuse enemy forces. In certain cases, entire spy networks were secretly controlled by opposing intelligence services, meaning agents risked their lives without knowing they were part of a much larger strategic game. Another truth rarely taught in classrooms is how the end of the war quickly turned allies into rivals. As Nazi Germany collapsed in 1945, Western powers and the Soviet Union began competing to capture German scientists, technology, and military research. Through Operation Paperclip, the United States secretly brought hundreds of German engineers and scientists to America, some of whom had worked directly for the Nazi regime. These experts later helped develop rockets, space technology, and military systems during the Cold War. For decades after the war ended, many documents related to these operations remained classified. Governments argued that revealing them could damage national security or diplomatic relationships. But when archives slowly began opening in the late 20th century, historians discovered that the official story taught in many schools only covered part of the truth. The world wars were not only fought with tanks, soldiers, and bombs. They were also battles of intelligence, secret deals, hidden alliances, and political calculations made far from the battlefield. Behind every famous battle lies a deeper story, one that often remained hidden for generations. Understanding these forgotten or concealed chapters does not erase the sacrifices made during the wars. Instead, it reminds us that history is rarely simple. The events that shaped modern Europe were not only decided on battlefields, but also in secret meetings. History books across Europe tell the story of the world wars in a structured and simplified way: dates, leaders, battles, victories, and defeats. But behind those official lessons lies a far darker and more complex reality. Many secrets of the world wars were hidden, classified, or quietly removed from school textbooks. These are the stories that shaped the war from the shadows, decisions made in secret rooms, intelligence operations that changed the fate of nations, and truths that governments preferred citizens never question. One of the least discussed realities of the Second World War is how much Western governments already knew about the plans of Nazi Germany before many major attacks happened. Through the secret British code-breaking program known as Operation Ultra, British intelligence had successfully cracked the German Enigma communication system years before the war ended. This meant Allied leaders often knew German military movements in advance. Yet in some cases, they allowed attacks to happen because revealing their knowledge would expose their code-breaking success. Historians still debate whether some cities could have been saved if governments had acted differently. Another secret that rarely appears in European classrooms is the quiet cooperation between powerful corporations and Nazi Germany before the war escalated. Several international companies continued business with the Nazi regime even as tensions rose. Oil companies, automobile manufacturers, and technology firms sometimes supplied materials or technology that indirectly strengthened Germany's war machine. At the time, business interests and profit often outweighed moral considerations, something many governments later tried to distance themselves from when the horrors of the war became clear. Even more shocking is the hidden diplomacy that occurred during the war.